Awesome. So I think we're probably at the right spot to get going. We got 60 people in here so far. We'll let people continue to filter in as they start to show up. But first and foremost, to everybody that's here, thanks a ton for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. My name's Jeff Bramhall. If you haven't seen me before, I work with Chris, Cal, and JL here at RPR. I'm the name behind the emails that you get all the time, which thankfully you haven't unsubscribed to, so appreciate that. And we're really excited about kicking off this first of three RPR AMAs that we're doing this week. I've got today. Cal's going to be on Saturday. His is sold out already. So unfortunately, if you haven't if you follow the request and only signed up for the one that you're most excited about, I appreciate you doing that. But Cal's sold out on Saturday. JL, we've got a handful of spots left on Friday with him. That's going to be Friday noon Eastern. At this point, honestly, man, if y'all want to jump into that, by all means, just pop back over to the AMA page and join us. Feel free to join us with that. Without any further ado, one last piece. Recording will be posted sometime in the next 24 hours or so. I'm gonna get it posted up on the same page that you registered from. So in case you miss anything today or you want to come back to it, you'll always have access to that. We'll also be posting the other two as well. The one on Friday with JL, as well as the Saturday with Cal. Cal will probably dig in a little bit. Each of them is going to be rooted in RPR. Based on the questions that we got a handful of questions about feet, unsurprisingly, when it comes to the big questions for Chris. So probably we're going to dig into that a bit today with him. Cal, unsurprisingly, got a bunch of people asking about triphasic. Dig into a little bit of triphasic stuff on Saturday. JL's get a bunch of questions about powerlifting and stuff like that. Guess what? We'll probably dig into that as well, but everything kind of based out of RPR. So with that as the preamble, I'm going to tee it up here with Chris. I've consolidated a lot of the questions that we got, some really great questions. I will encourage you to, I will also encourage people to, when writing a question, to remember to phrase a question as a question. That often involves using a question mark at the end of it, as opposed to a single word or a statement. Just throwing that out there as something that other human beings look at it. So making sure that you're in the same kind of right spot. I'll throw that little editorial in there. Anyway, so Chris, appreciate you taking the time.
Hi everyone. Welcome. Happy, what do we call this? COVID days, or pause, stay safe, all those things.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think of the questions that we've got, I think probably the place that I think probably makes the most sense to start, because I know we have some folks that have experience with RPR, some people who don't have experience with RPR. I think the best place to start is with the foundation. I've got a number of questions about where on earth did this come from? Like, how did that happen? And why does it work? And then tying into that, where can people go to learn more, not just about RPR, but about the kind of the fundamentals behind it? I think I'm excited to hear how you approach that question.
Sure. So I think it's been more than 10 years now. But Dan Fichter went to London to go see Douglas Heel speak. Dan and I were really into neural, and still are into neural stuff and input into the body to change outcomes. Because we all know that if you hit an exercise right on, you'll make an immediate change. And it's no different than stubbing your toe. You immediately change your gait. So we were looking for tools to kind of sneak into that. And Dan got on a plane and went and saw Douglas speak in London. He was blown away by it. This is back in flip phone days. So we're texting each other as quickly as possible or as briefly as possible because you get charged per digit, especially on a long distance phone call. He faxed me an outline of a body that had X's on it and said, do a muscle test with this and press here, see what happens. So I'm thinking, yeah, all right, let's see what this is all about. So I had a client come in. I said, hey, lay on the floor for a minute because I was still training out in my garage. I want to try something. So I did it started, of course, you go right with the butt right away because everyone wants a bigger butt because I really didn't understand the sequencing or anything like that. So, you go through, you touch, you rub, wow, a big change. And you go, next person comes through and you go, well, maybe let's see if I press somewhere else and see if I get the same response. And you go, all right, I'm going to press. You tell them, I'm going to press on some spots here and see if this works or not. You just bear with me. And when I tell you to hold. And so you press like some strange spot on the side of your head or in the shoulder or somewhere else. Like, nope, still doesn't work. And then you went to that butt spot. It was like, bam, it locked right on. So I was doing Be Activated based off of an outline, like a outline of someone that got murdered on the street with X's in certain spots, not really sure where to go. And Dan and I decided to bring Douglas out in the spring. And, it was the first time I hosted any kind of event, so I had no clue what I was doing. But we found, we did our first clinic, or whatever you want to call it, in a waiting room of a doctor's office. And on a weekend. So they closed up early for me. And we started at like noon, and we went to like 8 or 9 that night, and then came back the next day. And that is how it started with Douglas. And so then I started bringing Douglas out, usually twice a year, to teach Be Activated, which was just as level 1 is a 2-day event. Easily 18 to 20 hours of work in those.
A long 2 days.
It's a long 2 days. And we were doing that. Cal came out pretty early in the whole event and was blown away by it. And then eventually Cal said he wanted to host one up in Minneapolis, and we were going to I talked Douglas into saying, hey, you got to cut this down. Level 1 one day, level 2 the next day. And that's what we're going to do, because people don't have, it's not like in South Africa where nobody works. We all have jobs and we don't have time. We don't surf for a living like Douglas does. We are, we coach, we have 6-day, 7-day work weeks and things like that. And when we're not working, we're not making money. So we got it down to that. Jail showed up. And I think everyone knows the jail story about going back and working with Dave Tate and doing all that stuff. And that was in June. And jail said, hey, can I host one at the spot? And this is when Douglas said, all right, Cal and Chris, you will teach these, and I'll let you guys go with it. And that's when that night we went out to dinner to a nice steak place, and JL said, hey, we can make this into a better model where we can get it out faster, we can get it out to more people. There's no way that this should be hidden and difficult and all that. Let's simplify it. And that was the night that RPR was born. And then from there, right off the bat, we had growing pains about how to teach it, what to cut out. Then you had the whole touch thing, because I think we went to Penn State to teach it, or they brought JL or Cal to Penn State to teach it. And the big problem was, this is right as the Jerry Sandusky things were going on, is you couldn't touch people. Then you had all these people saying, well, you're out of your lane, you can't touch people. You had all kinds of people. Someone did a whole podcast. I taught one out in Bakersfield. And my brother came out with me. And so we're in Central California. And this guy, I forgot where he was from, was all up in arms, said, I'm outside of my lane. How dare I be a strength coach and touch someone and all that. He even made a podcast, went on someone's podcast, completely, knocked me and all that. I don't care if people do that to me all the time. But that's why we had to start going to, all right, you've got to do it yourself. How well does it work doing it yourself? Well, it actually works pretty well. And so that's kind of how we streamlined it into what we have today.
Yeah, that doing it when I first learned RPR, it was that first clinic that was held that you guys held at the spot that all three of you guys were at.
Yeah,
And
that was quite a clinic. I think we had probably 7 NFL coaches there. We had all kinds of
yeah,
people at that one.
that was that was a murderer's row. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but when I think back to that, it was a whole day of hands on, and then it was like, okay, now go teach someone to do this. And I know that I left there being like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then at the same time, like, I don't really know what to do with it. And as it's evolved like that, I've seen success myself, and I've seen the success among our community in moving into that, like teaching people to do things for themselves. But that, like, the analogy that JL uses of, like, sometimes when someone will come to me, like, that's like going to the dentist, right? Like, but then RPR, when you're doing it, when someone's doing it themselves, it's like brushing your teeth or flossing. It's something you do every day, but it's not something that and it works really well, but sometimes you need a tune up, and that, like, those two things work really nicely together. So one of the things that
Go ahead.
one of the things that comes on the heels of that is, like, is how did it click for you? What was the thing that was there one thing for you in your own practice or your own work that you were like, oh, this is the nugget that ties a lot of the stuff that I've been thinking about together?
So I think it clicked for me when I took the class. And so when Douglas would come here, he stayed with me. So there were times where Douglas was with me for living with us for weeks. And, we did a lot of work. And I was coaching track at York High School then. And we would come, he would go. I think we had a couple practices where we played a game where, all right, you can watch someone move and see if you can change their gait just by pressing on different things. And it was pretty profound, and you could make some pretty quick changes with all of that. So anyway, back to answer the question is, I remember Douglas reset me at the doctor's office, and I got up off the table. And again, there was some pain involved, and he pushes pretty hard and felt like he was, pushing through the other side of your body. But I got up and I went out into the parking lot and I ran, and it literally felt like I was 16 years old again, which is really what you're looking for. I mean, I was probably early 40s at the time, and I still try to train hard and do stupid things. And it was really quite a release where you kind of shed age and things seemed to work really well, and you felt light, and you felt like you could run again and you could jump again and all that. And it just doesn't happen with old people like me. Douglas and I went into the city once, and we worked with Derek Rose, and we had the same impact with Derek Rose where we reset him. And I know this sounds like a bad TV commercial, but we were on the second floor, and we're in downtown. I mean, so there's traffic, there's everything going on. And this is when Derek Rose, I was coming back after that injury he got to his face, where actually his whole face got smashed. The media doesn't want you to know that, but that's what happened. And so we're up there and we're going through this. And about an hour later, Derek gets up off the table. He goes, I got to go downstairs. He went downstairs, and you looked out the window, and again, it's Chicago. It's Derek Rose. Everyone knows it's Derek Rose. And there goes Derek Rose sprinting down the street. Comes back up, gets in the elevator, comes back up, and we're kind of like, wow, that was kind of messed up. Too bad we didn't get that on film. He goes, yeah, I feel great. I haven't felt like this in a while. So it's not just me. I think, you have that first time, and it's literally like someone takes a jacket of the weight of life off of you, and you got that feeling. And then, after that, you keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it, and you find new things to help trying to keep that jacket of life off. And I don't know how I came up with jacket of life. I just made that up right now.
I like that. and but that whole idea of the weight that like the weight that we put on ourselves, that I think that's a really big one that actually ties into one of the later questions that I had that I'm actually going to pull up now. We talk about, most of what we talk about with RPR is like, we talk about performance, sports performance. But I'm interested to hear, and one of the questions that came in that I really was looking forward to hearing from you. What are some interesting things that you've seen that you've seen from people in that emotion, from an emotional standpoint, like an emotional response that people have had?
So really Be Activated really gets into, if you get to the core of it, it really starts getting to emotions and stuff like that. And Douglas taught me some pretty crazy stuff to unlock emotions and mental states and mental blocks and things like that. I had an athlete who literally, I've seen this multiple times when you start getting emotions, where people break down and really there is an emotional block to what they're performing and what their performance levels are. One was a basketball player, and she had some personal issues going on, and she kind of let go with all that. And there's a lot of yelling involved and a lot of little kind of weird things that happen with it. But she finished with it. It took a couple sessions, completely changed her life. A lot happened from that. It certainly improved her basketball game. She was a guard at Stanford. Back when Stanford had a really good basketball team, and she actually led the NCAA with free throw percentage that year. And she said, you know what, I got to the line, I went to that mental state, and I never missed a free throw. I think she missed 2 free throws all year, which is phenomenal. I think she held the record for a while, and then recently it was broken. I've seen an athlete, his name is Atoro Akaban. He was a Nigerian sprinter for me. He was born in Nigeria, family immigrated here. But when he was born, when the doctor pulled him out, broke his arm. So he kind of had a shortened arm, which was, he couldn't extend it. It was actually a little deformed, just because he hadn't used it. And actually that whole arm became his identity. And Douglas did some work on him and went through some emotional stuff, and tied in the emotions with the reset and put the body back in line. And before that, Atoro couldn't straighten his arm. I know it's a bad angle here. He'd get to here, and if you put hands side to side, it was here. When he came out, he was about a fingertip away from being even. Wow. Now the crappy thing was, he was one of my sprinters in my relay, and it was such a neural shock to his body. He ran slower after that. It took him about 4 weeks for his brain to catch up to what his body was doing. Mm. And thank God, just in the nick of the time. He didn't run my 4x1 at the conference meet. He made his way back in for sectionals, and he was on the state team.
Wow.
So some crazy things. And so it brings into the question, some people say, well, RPR doesn't work on some people and stuff like that. And some people don't want to be fixed. Some people, their injury or their problem becomes them. You offer to help people, which I stopped doing, because you see someone walking funny and say, I can really help you. I can fix that limp. And people, oh no, nobody can help me. And then my response now is, you're right.
You're right.
Nobody can help you. You are going to be like this. In some people, that injury becomes who they are. I hurt my hip playing basketball or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. It's just that's become you, and your body's comfortable with that. And it's a crutch. It's a tool that people use. It can be a tool for attention. It can be a tool for an excuse, but it's something that they always fall back on, and it becomes who they are. But also that thing becomes a limiter into what their performance can be, or just living. Just getting through life.
Yeah. However you define performance, whether that means like Olympic qualifiers, or if it means playing with your kids.
Yeah. So from an emotional standpoint, I've seen a lot of crazy things. I've heard a lot of crazy things. You hear people let out these, primordial screams, and then all of a sudden they get up and it's like, wow, I feel a lot better. And then you go through and you muscle test them. It's like, holy crap. That's all it took, is you just had to scream, but you have to get to that point emotionally, and you have to tie that together. Because actually, what is the purpose of your diaphragm? Your diaphragm is there for a lot of things, but one of the things is to let out that giant scream. But if you can't breathe, you can't lock it, you can't let that out. And for a lot of times, that scream for people is that release of whatever that emotional / physical tension is that's locking you down.
Mm.
So I'm not saying everyone go out and scream, but sometimes it works.
I mean, giving it a try, right? Like not even like totally independent of RPR, but go into the woods and like give yourself that, like, flex your diaphragm, for lack of a better way to,
Yeah, and that's
better
exactly
term.
what it is. And we did, when I was at York, we did that before all of Illinois figured this out, but our sprinters would get to the line and they would scream. And now people are freaked because this guy's screaming at the line, but what they're doing, they're resetting themselves. They're getting to that point where they can access that zone 1 really easily.
Almost like the same thing that happens with the haka.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. That's what they're doing. And maybe not from a B activator or RPR sense, but there is a lot of that element involved in that.
And we know that this, like, there's, from a, like, going back to the original, the where can I learn more about it? Like, the places that I've gone to learn more about it are, like, I've spent time with, like, Chinese medicine, like traditional, like a lot of this stuff is born out of, like, out of medicinal traditions that are thousands of years old. They're just like, all we're doing with RPR is we're putting a package on it that someone who's like, someone who has a degree in exercise science is like, oh, okay, this fits my worldview.
Yeah, it's and that's the big hurdle, is when you have to have proof for people and you have to have research. You're taking a concept that's hard to quantify to people who spend their entire life quantifying. And a lot of people that spend their whole life quantifying never have time to feel. All they want to see is numbers in front of you. When I went to New Zealand this past year, and I was with, at Sprins, where it's all researchers, and I'm trying to get this point through. John Cronin, JC, who kind of runs all of Sprins, you can see his name over every research paper in sports development. He's kind of the foundation for a lot of modern sports research. It's kind of crazy because here's this guy, a PhD, whose whole world is rooted in science. And who's he married to? Married to a shaman. So up in his house on this river out in the middle of nowhere, kind of imagine being in a hut. It's actually a nice house, but it's actually where they filmed Lord of the Rings in the Shire. He lives in the Shire, literally. It's where his house is. And I reset him, and it kind of made this connection between what his wife does and what he does, because he actually felt it. Because it's hard to reset your wife or your spouse. I mean, my wife doesn't let me touch her. My wife goes to someone else and gets reset because she won't do it to herself, because she doesn't believe you can do it to yourself. So my wife goes to someone else to get reset every week, which is, it's just the way it is. But the same thing with JC. He had to feel it from someone else to get to that point.
Mm. And that's, I mean, I think there's a lot. I had an interesting conversation when we first started thinking about doing the online course. That was one of the questions. It's like the bridge, like we made the bridge from someone else has to do it to you can do it for yourself. And then the next bridge was, can you learn how to do it through a screen? Yeah. And it's been amazing to see the success in that.
Which I'm finding out that you can do everything through a screen these days. I taught a level 3 on a screen. I did, crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how, like, it's starting to see, like, oh wait, what's possible, the differences in what's possible and the limits that we put on ourselves.
Yeah. You have to have faith in other people sometimes to follow through.
Yeah. It's a tough thing to have sometimes. I think actually a good place to transition to is bunch of questions came in that really wrapped up to how do you introduce RPR, and how can you establish buy-in among athletes? But, and this I think actually is probably even more important, how do you help establish, how can you establish buy-in among the other coaches and staff that are working with a program, so that you're not an island?
So the first thing you have to do, it depends on where you are, and are you an outsider or are you an insider? I mean, if you're an insider, you go after the head coach and you take them through it, and you show them, hey, here's who's doing it here, you know, because immediately when you start telling this to people, they have this block, and so you have to make people feel it. And
That
so
social, starting with that social proof of like, these
yes,
people who you want to be, they do this thing.
like the football team that I've worked with now for the last, I don't know, 6 years, I took the head coach to, I actually had him, this is back when Douglas was still teaching it. I had him come to a Douglas level 1 and go through the whole thing. And then immediately he was bought in. You know, you can show data, you know, everyone's got stories and things like that, but really people have to feel this to make it stick. And so once you get a head coach in, then it rolls downhill. And I'll get to how you do the team in a second. But if you're not in with him, you have to surround him with people who have felt it. So then you take the next guy in line who's not the head coach but seems close. You say, hey, come try this or check this out and see how you feel. And so now you've surrounded the head coach with people who have felt it, and now he is the outsider and feels like, well, maybe I should take a look at this because these other people are doing it now. Once you get in front of a team, let's say you get that opportunity to get in front of a team, you always, this is what I do. I find the biggest guy, and then I'm going to shove him around. I'm going to find a big guy. If you're standing, I'm going to find a big guy who is leaning to one side or the other. All right, when you come to rest and you're standing there, you're going to put all your weight on your strong side and nothing on your weak side. You've put all your weight on that side because that's where you feel stable. Your body's always going to come to rest where you're stable. And then I'll know that if he is putting all of his weight on that one side, that's the side I'm going to shove him when I do a lateral push. And I know if he's leaning, he's not standing square. I know his zone 1 is off. And so I can take him through any series of tests that we do, whether it's a butt test or a shove test or a twist test. And I'm going to win. And once you can shove a big guy around like they're nothing, it's pretty much downhill from there, because now it becomes fun because, look, Johnny the Giant just got shoved. He's not so tough anymore. That's kind of funny. And once you add that into the whole environment, it becomes a fun thing. And people are going to want to find out how they're not going to get shoved, because in the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh shit, if Johnny the Giant got shoved around, what are they going to do to me? I don't want to be that guy. So you can attack that from, I don't want to say attack, but you can go use that angle. That has backfired me one time. I was in Kansas City. I'm going to teach a level 1, level 2. And I found the biggest guy. I didn't know anything about him, but he was giant. He's 6'8". He looks 260, but he's really 335. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to get this dude up here. And I couldn't see him stand. He came in and sat down right away. So I didn't get a judge for what he was. And it was a bad day because there was a snowstorm, there was a blizzard, people are getting in, there's ice everywhere. So it was kind of chaotic. So I didn't get a great chance to assess who was coming in and who I was going to pick for my things. So I had Scott come up. I said, all right, come on up. And I was going to do the twist test on him. So I'm 6'1", he's 6'8". So he's a good head taller than me. And he's almost twice my size. I'm 200 pounds. So I go to twist him. I'm locked in here for the old rotation test. And I went to tug or push, and that was by far the strongest individual I have ever shoved into my life. When I went to twist him, I almost felt like my whole body was going to break. And so when he started to laugh, this big giant laugh, he picked up his arm, and on his forearm, he had Olympic rings. So everyone that's in the Olympics gets their Olympic tattoo. Well, find out that he is the Canadian record holder in the javelin. And then as he's laughing at me and I'm completely embarrassed and defeated in front of everyone, goes, I took this class a month ago with Cal and I just wanted to see it again. I reset myself because I knew you'd call me up there. I was like, son of a bitch. So he got me. It failed. Had my tail between my legs for a little bit. Had to find someone else. Luckily, there was an NFL linebacker that I brought up there and threw him around a little bit.
And I think one thing to underscore is that, like, to everyone who's here who's got questions about implementing, like, what happened? Like, how costly was it for you to try test and fail?
It happens.
Yeah. Like, and what do? You just try something else. Like, we're not like, if something doesn't work, you just try another thing. It's great.
So once you find that guy you can throw around and you can show the change, you can get them to buy in. But eventually there's going to come a time when people get sloppy and they're going through it for the sake of going through it, which is usually when I start to implement the test. And I'll bring someone up, I'll say, hey, let's see how good you're doing it. And I'll go through or teach them the test. Here's your glute test. Here's a shove test. Are you pressing hard enough? Are you doing it hard enough? And so for me to teach my athletes whether it's the lateral chain test or the glute test or the psoas test, they need to see that so they know it works. And then if someone gets dinged, you bring them up and you say, see guys, this is what happens. Watch how off their whole system is on. And I know that's not true. Of course, when something is hurt, your whole body's going to shut down. But that doesn't mean it's not a great marketing point to say, hey, you got to stay on it or else this is what happens.
Yeah. And that's one of the big questions that came up was, like, how does somebody know that they're doing it right? Like, and I think that it nails you nailed it, right? It's, that you're doing it right if you can test and you have a difference between before and after, right?
Yeah.
Like, we set a baseline, we intervene, and then we test against that baseline. And if there's a difference, they're doing it right. Could they do it? Is right perfect? Who knows? And kind of who cares? But it's better than what it was.
And then you kind of know your kids are getting it, or your athletes are getting it when they start saying, hey coach, this feels off, this feels off. And they really start to get in tune with their body. And then they know what's going on. And they said, you know what, I reset myself and I still can't get there. Can you check it for me? And of course, with my athletes, I don't have a problem doing that. So I don't have a problem putting my hands. I know it becomes deactivated once I put my hands on them, but hey, if it's my athlete's safety and staying healthy, I don't care what you call it. I'm going to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah. And that's like, and I think that's the underlying part of that, of like, tying back to the researchers, right? Like, if one of your jobs in using RPR, one of the side effects of using RPR is that people begin to feel what they feel, like understand what they feel like, that's a success.
Yeah.
What do you feel about tools? Like we have the sticks that we sell. Like, I'm personally, like, I'm a fan of them. I'm a fan of them sometimes, because for the simple reason that telling somebody to rub themselves is one thing, but putting a thing in someone's hands and saying, like, hey, use this to do that, gives you can have a different outcome. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, tools are supposed to make things easier. I have pluses and minuses for both. I think actually, one way of looking at it is there's a transfer of energy when you put skin on skin. But it's hard to get people to do things to themselves if you don't have a tool. So whether it's the RPR stick, it works, and people like to have things in their hands. Vibration is a great way to get there. I started with a hypervolt just because when we were doing things with the JAGs, they said, hey, we're having a hard time getting our guys to do stuff. And I said, well, yeah, go ahead and try. And they had a box. I mean, they had like 24 hypervolts laying on the floor. Try it with the hypervolt. And I said, yeah, it worked pretty well. So any type of vibration will work really well. Probably the most effective way is light. And I know this freaks people out, but light is a frequency, right? It's a vibration. And there are certain colors that shoot through your body and they hit spots, and you're actually vibrating that spot, which is your body responds to light before it responds to touch. Think about that. What happens if you're in a dark room and someone turns on light? You instantly protect yourself from the light. And light is the least invasive way of getting to that point. So I use a bioptron with a fullerene lens. They're expensive, but it works really well. Fullerene is a unique lens. It was designed by this guy named Nikola Tesla a couple of years ago. I think he did something a while back, and then something happened to him. But it actually penetrates your skin deeper than any other shade. Oh, my cord is hitting my mic, sorry. And that's what I use, and it works really well. And now we're messing around. I don't know what I'm allowed to say at this point or what contracts have been signed, but we're also looking at frequencies of tools that vibrate, that sync up with your muscle, because what we found was that at certain frequencies, the vibration actually bounces off your muscle and it doesn't do the same thing. And this is Carmelo Bosco's work, so we know that at a certain frequency that your body will accept that vibration and will work the way it's supposed to. So while I do like using my hands, I have tools. And the Bioptron, Bioptron, is the name of the light. And if you want to get political here, if you look in Europe, they're finding out that certain frequencies kill the COVID virus pretty easily. And some people are using light to wipe out the virus. But you're never going to find that in mainstream media or anything like that, because that will blow people's mind. But I know there are people that have, they have saunas that shoot certain lights at certain frequencies, so you can set your body, you can set the tone for your body by sitting at the sauna, because at that higher temperature, your body's more receptive to things, and there's these lights that you shoot into your body while you sit in the sauna. Yeah. If I had money, I'd buy one, but nobody has money right now. Plus, I have to fuel my guitar collection. And everyone asked me, do you have enough? And I said, I never have enough. There's always more. There's always more space somewhere on my wall.
There's always more. What's the number one? What's your favorite out of the collection?
Oh, it changes all the time. Probably my most prized collection is that, I shouldn't tell people this because he'll come rob me, but you can't rob me because my dog here will protect me. That gold top right there is a 1952 Gibson gold top. It was the 40th Les Paul ever made. That was expensive.
Whoa. Okay. That's awesome.
I know people tell me it should be in a case packed away somewhere, but then I can't enjoy it.
You can't play it.
Yeah.
And a question in from the chat was, what's the name of the lens?
Fullerene, Fullerene.
Cool.
That Tesla dude did things that people still can't figure out. Yeah, that's why some people think he was an alien.
Tesla was a smart guy. Cool. So I think this is this is probably the next place to go. And I think these two can probably tie together. First one is talking about your approach to feet in training, feet as they relate to shin splints and other injuries, and how that relates to athletic, how that just in generally, discussing how feet relate to athletic performance.
Well, your foot is what connects you to the ground.
I think that just on its own is something that people need to remember.
Yeah. And so every time that you step, your body has to respond to that contact on the ground. Okay. And so after you've made that contact, your body has to find a way to distribute the force. So let's say you're sprinting, and let's say it's 3 times your body weight or 10 times your body weight or whatever whatever research you want to use. You have to protect your vision. All right, so the goal is to make sure that when you move, you track straight. Because I can't run very fast if my head's bouncing around like this. I'm going to hit branches as the bear chases me, and I'm certainly going to die. So I have to dispense all the force of my foot hitting the ground so I can keep, actually, I want to keep a horizon, which means I can keep everything straight. So I can navigate through a branch or whatever, or I can navigate going up a hill or jumping over a log or however I'm escaping or hunting. So your body will find all different kinds of ways to dispel or displace or buffer that energy before it hits your head and you change your horizon. The better your foot works, the more energy it can A, displace, and B, recycle so you have some energy to move forward again. The less energy I have in my foot to move forward again, the more I have to use other parts of my body to move forward, which means I may have an exaggerated arm swing. I may have a forward lean. I may have to swing a leg. There's about 1,000 different things that you can do to make up for the energy lost in improper foot function. Is everyone with me so far? I only have 5. Is that Bobby that gave me the thumbs up? Hey, Bobby, how you doing? Bobby was a student of mine. I was his history teacher back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. So here, he now, before I was free, now he has, oh, this is free too. Never mind. I was say he has to pay to listen to me now. So from that point, the better your foot function is, the less the rest of your body has to do to move. Which means my compensation patterns or my gait is usually a reflection of what my foot is doing. So you can do every drill in the world, you can do your arm drills, you can do whatever you want, but if that foot is not doing what it needs to do, that will override whatever drills I've been doing. Because your body knows subconsciously the safest way to keep a horizon, and that will override your drills. So whether you're a distance runner, a sprinter, or whatever sport that you play, a lot of times you have what you see is a result of what's going on the ground. Now, if you want to mess with someone, take their glasses. Like if you have someone sprint with glasses, tilt them sideways like this, and then go ahead and watch them run and watch their whole body change, because they're going to try to match your glasses with what they see as the horizon or the ground, and they're going to tilt so everything is straight. Or do this when if you have a bench press at home, tilt it crooked and then bench press and watch how your whole bench press forms. So if the bar is lined up with the beams over your head, your bar will always match the beams over the head. You put it off a little bit, you're going to adjust the bar to meet that horizon. And everyone is obsessed with the horizon. Whether you're a bird, a fish, a cheetah, everything does everything it can to keep a horizon. Very rarely do you see fish swim diagonally.
That
They
video
use
of
their
the
air bladder to rise up. Or the hawk, the goshawk that they took and
Yeah.
it was moving his whole body around and head stayed the same the whole time. They were even tilting the body diagonally. He kept his head on horizon the whole time. So if you want to mess with people, like here, if I want to mess with myself because I'm a little crooked, my head's crooked, so I can put these blue blocker glasses on, and because my head is a little crooked, I get a neck kink because I try to match the top of these glasses with the top of my computer because I'm constantly trying to find horizon. So I can't wear small glasses like this. I need the big ones, you know, the old visor type things, because my head is crooked.
You had a pair of like Greg LeMond Oakleys.
That's what happens when your mom beats you with a stick growing up. Your head gets crooked. She's in lockdown. She won't talk to anyone. She thinks talking to people gives you COVID. So I can say whatever I want about her right now.
Yeah, you got the full range right now. So that actually that ties into, for me, that was one of the biggest things I learned coming out of one of the level 3 beta course that I came out to. So I came home and was training with my wife, and it was literally, it was with a bench, it was on a bench press, where I realized that the bar was coming up unevenly, and it was we ended up tracking it to a hamstring, but it was related to the way that it was related to the relationship between the bar above her chest and the bar and the struts in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And that that misalignment caused the bar path to go out of straight, which ended up with her with her hamstring taking the brunt of the extra force, and then shutting down as a result.
Yeah, if you want to watch neurologic function and what the priorities are, watch MMA, watch someone get knocked out, and watch them get up. First thing they do is go through a startle reflex, which is they bring their hands up, their feet come forward, and their head comes up. Then they figure out where they're at, and as they're rolling over, they try to find horizon. And those are your first two priorities. And somewhere in there, and probably after they find horizon, they take a breath. Hang on, we got a whole bunch of questions on the side here. Should I deal with these?
I think, I mean, if you want, yeah, why don't we take a couple minutes there? We've only got about 10 minutes left. So
if we want, we can do this another day, because I don't do anything all day. Yeah. I read papers on email. I mean, my school is going to be out here in a couple weeks. They shortened our school year.
Yeah. I think we can definitely follow up with one.
Would improper foot function affect jumping ability due to? Yes, it absolutely would. Because if you have proper foot function, there has to be a roll through the foot, on the outside edge up to your big toe. I mean, that's the way the foot is shaped. The earlier you come off, the more direction you'll get off to the side. And so you'll see people jump and their feet will do funny things when they come up off the ground. And what's cool to watch, if you watch on video, watch how the arm counterbalances a foot that pushes off to the side. So really the sum of those two movements will be straight up in the air. Because remember, everything's got to balance out. This whole system has to balance out for you to get to your target, which is, by the way, the third stance. After you've found your horizon, then you find a target. Then you're going to navigate toward the target based on what is working and what's not. That's before anything else happens. So you have your target. I got to jump high. This foot isn't working so great. So how am I going to make it work better? Well, I'm going to throw this arm a little bit higher. Or I'm just going to leave early on this foot, because you'll see people, if you watch them jump from behind, one heel will be higher than the other when they come off the ground. That's because they're counterbalancing something that doesn't work very well. And you know that. You consciously don't know that, but subconsciously your body says, yeah, pick up that left heel early because we got to get up there really quick and we're trying to make 30. And so that will happen, which is really kind of cool to watch. Remember, everything is the sum of the target. So whatever is going on in your body, the end game is your body's going to move so it can get to the target. Find horizon, get to the target. Body instantly figures out what's wrong, shut that down, turn that on, boom. But it looks like shit. Yeah, but I got to my target.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't know, like we're not going for, our bodies don't care about optimal. They care about completing a task.
Completing a task. Do athletes prefer doing running technique and sprint drills barefoot? Oh man, there's a whole bunch of stuff popping up.
Yeah, I think I was reading through those, and I think a lot of it comes back to the foot and ankle stuff that you and Cal wrote with the triphasic speed, I think is the one, right?
Yeah, our knees, varus valgus, able to be corrected by addressing the feet. Sometimes it's okay that you push in because you're actually creating a lever.
Yeah.
So it
Jake
depends.
Tour has done a bunch of cool. He's done a bunch of really good stuff with showing off how that can, like, showing that stuff off.
Yeah. So it depends on what your foot shape is, what your foot is doing, and that's going to be, your knee is going to counterbalance whatever it thinks it should be doing. Because I've got some really good jumpers that knock their knees in, and if you've got a 43-inch vertical jump, I don't know if I want to wreck that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, how much more can you do after 43?
How
Is
much more do
44
you?
going to
I
get you
mean,
more money? I don't think so. I think 43 is plenty.
I don't know. Oscar Robertson had a 44-inch vertical. That's all I know.
That's a good jump. Um,
Uh,
Level 2 will be available online. I don't know. Right now, we're just dealing with all this. All three of us have been affected in different ways. So we don't know. Where's the level 3 at? Can you give us
yeah,
updates or teasers?
I think that's what's really cool is that like that was the next question I had on my list, and everything you were talking about at Horizon was like, that's pretty much pretty online.
Um, we had, this was kind of a hard thing for us to do, but we had two planned. I've been teaching them at my house. This whole thing hit. I stupidly thought I could teach them, and then I was talked out of it. So we do have two backed up where people are signed up. And Jeff's been to my house. I like it at my house because the groups are small and I can do a lot of hands-on. But the plan is when this opens up again, we're going to do a whole bunch up in Minneapolis because we have more space. But again, we have to wait to see when different governors open things up. We have every intention to do a whole bunch of level 3s coming up. It's just right now, we don't know. Different states are going to go at different times. And I certainly don't want to be the one who gets the social media crucifixion for opening up a business before doing something before, because some people are losing their minds over this. But they are coming. So level 3, a teaser would be, well, I don't know, Jeff, you took the class.
Yeah, I mean, the the teaser for level 3 is grab an anatomy book and then use your brain looking at how muscles, use your brain and looking at what we actually want from an athletic performance.
So I guess kind of what I did is I broke it down into, first of all, there's a rotational aspect that we do, and the rotational aspect is really stuff that Douglas taught in level 1 and level 2 that we got rid of because it was too hands-on. There's no way you could reset yourself with these things. So that was part of it. And then from there, I kind of built two muscle chains. One is propulsion, which is actually the twisting of bones, using muscles at both sides to twist a bone to create tension that knocks your body forward. And then there's a zip up, which is, can I bring my body up into a tube? Because a lot of times when we move, we want to bring everything in as efficiently as possible so we can propel ourselves, so it can be more like a torpedo than I don't know, something that's not a torpedo, something not as efficient as a torpedo. And so we kind of built resets that go along those chains that put your body together. I have seen, and Jeff might back me up on this, but using the level 3 stuff, I have seen as dramatic impacts with level 3 as I saw with people for the first time with level 1. Where and I don't know, Jeff, were you here for the people that, like the two guys that had the bad knees, or we had a couple people, older guys that had bad knees, and it's like, wow, I don't need a surgery now. And not that I'm saying that does that or anything like that, but there were some pretty dramatic results from doing the level 3s.
Yeah, what I saw at a level 3 was, I mean, just, people just standing up and being like, holy crap, this is what my body can feel like. That's like that's some really that's some really amazing, like, there was some really amazing stuff that came out of that, and then coming home, putting it to use, was really just like, okay, like, quickly, like, use it, what do you see, and finding some really interesting stuff. Actually, when I was in Hong Kong just before this hit here and just after it hit in Hong Kong, I worked with a couple of guys that were on Hong Kong rugby, and it was, the level 1 and level 2 made really big differences, but the level 3 was level 3 ended up being the linchpin that tied it all together for them.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. So we are right up at the top of the hour. I know that there are some folks here for whom this is the first time through. This is the first exposure to a lot of the RPR stuff. So I'm going to do a little pitch, because guess what? We gave you an hour of time for free. I'm going to throw a little ask on top of it, because why wouldn't I? First off, if you're just learning about RPR through this, we have our online course, which is not affected by COVID. It's about a 6-hour course, entirely self-paced. You have lifetime access to the content in the course. Anytime we update it, which we've done a couple of times, if you we added an archery set into our lateral sling. That's all in the manuals that come with it. You get instant updates in your lifetime access. You can review anything whenever you want to. All that stuff is that's available at rprlevel1online.com. Plus, this is a reporting year for NSCA. You get 0.6 category D CEUs out of it for $300. And this is probably the quote on here is some of the highest praise that I could ever imagine, because Daniel, the guy who wrote this, is not someone who's going to bullshit us. And he was genuine, and he texted me and he was like, holy crap, this is as good as the in-person, and I'm amazed by it. And then he tweeted about it, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's always fun when people come to level 2 and they've taken the level 1. It's like, yeah, that's as good as, this is working, because they're showing up and they haven't missed a beat.
I had to wrap my head around that, and I've been really happy to see how that's worked. So if you haven't done the level 1 course, a lot of what we've talked about, we've got 2 goals with it. 1, for you to start to feel differences, and 2, for you to be able to feel confident in bringing it to your people, clients, athletes, teams, whatever environment. Those are the 2 things that we care about out of that. And then I'll throw one more up here, which is we've got tools, got posters. We know that sometimes it's helpful to have a thing in someone's hand. An RPR stick is a great thing to have in someone's hand. And the other part we've got is posters. You're trying to, you got a bunch of high school kids and you want to get them to memorize 13 different things. Good luck. Put a poster up on a wall so that they can see it. That works out really, really well. So we've got those. I ship those 3 days a week. Try and fulfill stuff within a business day of it getting to us, because if you're buying something from us, we owe it to you to give you the best we can. And then the breath belt, we've been partnered with Jesse with Jesse from Breath Belt for about 1.5 years at this point. It's been really cool to see some of the results, the results that people have gotten out of that as well. So
I use the breath belt. I'd use that breath belt for a lot of things.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. I literally, the only time I use it, because I spend a bunch of time working on breathing, the only time I use it is after travel, when my digestion is effed.
Oh wow, I didn't think of that.
That it helps a ton for that. Those are the asks. RPR level 1 online, and then our reflexiveperformance.com/swag. It would be definitely cool if we could do the level 1, the level 2 online. I'm not positive that I think there's some stuff to get done. It won't happen during lockdown, but it's been some interesting feedback that we've gotten about that. Again, we'll post I'll post the recording of this moment as soon as I can get it up. It'll be right at reflexiveperformance.com/AMA. The other two will get posted within a day of them, within a day of us finishing up with them. So by the end of this weekend, you'll get an hour with Chris, an hour with Cal, and an hour with JL on demand. And I want to thank all.
I've got some other webinars coming up. I'm doing one with Tony Holler this weekend. We're doing 3 hours, a lot of Q&A type stuff. I'll talk about feet. Everyone wants me to talk about feet. And then Dan Fichter and I have some coming up as well. We're doing an upper body training one, which upper body for sports, because we have these great lower body workouts, but then what do? We go back and we bench press and do the same stupid stuff for upper body. So we're putting together an upper body one. We've got 3 other topics that are coming, including vision type stuff, vestibular stuff, which is horizon and all of that, tying the horizon with your hearing and all that stuff.
Yeah. What's the place that people can go to find out about the information on that one, or on all those? Is your Twitter the best place to go?
No, Twitter.
Yeah. If you're not following Korfist on Twitter, twitter.com/Korfist.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that stuff.
Yeah, but you do retweet stuff sometimes.
I retweet stuff.
Has the things. David, you don't even actually need to actually have a Twitter account to go and follow on that. So
it's at Korfist. That's my Twitter.
Yeah.
Or at Korfist.
No, it's at Korfist. Instagram is at Korfist1, and I'm convinced that it's at Korfist1 because you created at Korfist and then forgot the password.
Oh, that's right.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Well, it's all good. I appreciate everyone's time. Chris, thank you for yours. This is a lot of fun. We should we'll figure out a backup. And we'll email.
Yeah, we can do another one.
All right. Cool. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.